We're going to have a brief review of temperature. You should be familiar with temperature from your previous courses you've taken, but let's just have a review. So there are two main temperature scales that we use on a regular basis. First one is Fahrenheit, and the second is Celsius. And in the United States, we typically use the Fahrenheit scale when we're describing temperatures. It's the English system. But outside the United States, it's much more common to use Celsius. But you should be familiar with Celsius from your courses, your scientific courses, chemistry, physics, or whatever, because in the scientific world, Celsius is more common. Whereas often in the engineering world, Fahrenheit may be more common, just depending on the field and geographic location and so forth. But Celsius is SI, or International, Fahrenheit, English. And we can convert between the two readily. Here's two thermometers showing the scaling of the temperature between the two. So for instance, if I'm here at if I'm here at positive 60 Celsius, I may be here around 140 Fahrenheit. And that's just showing you the equivalence between Celsius and Fahrenheit and converting between the scales. The other thing I want to point out about these two is that down here on the red are negative temperatures. Same here down here for Fahrenheit. So we can have a negative temperature in Celsius, a negative temperature in Fahrenheit. That's not too uncommon. But I wanted to point that out because the next two temperature scales are unique in this aspect. So the first one here is Kelvin. Second one is Rankine. And these are both absolute temperatures. What I mean by that is there's no negative temperatures. 0 is the lowest you can go. So the lowest temperature in Kelvin is 0, whereas the lowest temperature in Celsius is a negative number. It's actually negative 273. On the Rankine scale, we also have no negative numbers, just like the Kelvin scale. And it's also on the absolute scale. So the lowest temperature in Rankine is 0, just like in the Kelvin. And the big difference between Kelvin and Rankine is what type of scale they're on. As far as the difference between the temperatures, Celsius and Kelvin are on the same scale. The only difference between Celsius and Kelvin is that Kelvin goes down to 0, Celsius goes down to negative 273. So you can convert between Celsius and Kelvin just by adding 273 or subtracting 273, and we'll go over that in just a minute. Fahrenheit and Rankine, they're both English units. Celsius, Kelvin, they're both international or SI units. And Rankine goes down to 0, but it's a similar quantity to the Fahrenheit. The only difference between Fahrenheit and Rankine is a scaling factor of 459. We also need to know how to convert between the two, or between the 4 different temperatures. And if you look in the book, the formulas are all in there. If you Google it, you'll also find some formulas. But here's just the rough outline between the two, how to convert between Fahrenheit and Celsius, or Celsius and Fahrenheit. It's just adding and subtracting numbers and multiplying by factors, depending on which direction we're going. But we can easily convert between Fahrenheit and Celsius and Fahrenheit pretty quickly. Rankine scale, or Rankine temperature, if we know the degrees in Fahrenheit, we just add 459.67. So, basically it's showing that we can just take that Fahrenheit and plus or minus the amount, depending on whether we're going from Rankine to Fahrenheit or Fahrenheit to Rankine, to get one or the other. Same with the Kelvin. To Kelvin, we just take the Celsius and add 273. And if we want to go from Celsius go the reverse direction, we would just minus 273. So that's it. The 4 different temperatures and various ways that we can convert between them. Again, look in the book if you want a little more review, or Google it. You'll find some good resources too.